Welcome back, everyone, here to the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 26. Here, brought to you by Ball N Beatz Media. Uh, Before we get into this episode, of course, we had a week off. I was in Cleveland watching the
Yep.
best conferences basketball tournament and
Mm-hmm.
watching amazing
True Maxion.
basketball, pure action. We're recording this now about
And
30
heartbreak
minutes
for Toledo again.
about 30 minutes after Miami just won their first four matchup against SMU. But I digress from that. Spencer, how you doing, sir? It's been a week off.
I'm I'm good. It was nice. But I'm ready to get back into it. I'm ready to free agency's been going on, and the Lions are just playing with themselves at this point. So who knows what things are happening. So
It may be March Madness season around here, but even more than that, it's always still football season.
but,
Don't let anyone
yep,
tell you differently.
it's always football season.
We have to dive into the best free agency moves of the offseason. I have top five. It's my top
Okay.
five free agency moves of the offseason so far, ones that I believe have really kind of asserted themselves as ones to watch in the 2026 for next season because there's a lot of movement. And there's a lot of movement of guys that I didn't necessarily expect to ever move from franchises. Like the biggest move to me, and I'm going to just start right here, is Mike Evans to the San Francisco 49ers. I
That's your number one, really?
It's my number one. And the reason why it's my number
Wow.
one is San Francisco needed a true wide receiver. They haven't had a true wide receiver one the last couple seasons. Let's be honest here. Um and
They
I
had
know Mike
Ayuk
Evans is
2 years
old.
ago.
I understand his age. He's 32, 33, around that range. He's the most consistent wide receiver in the NFL, and he has been when he's healthy. Of course, he wasn't healthy last season, which is why he didn't have 1,000 yards receiving. But Mike Evans is still that dude, and you put him in that offense. I think it really opens up a lot for the 49ers.
Age is a thing, and he was hurt a majority of last year. I think it's a good move from San Francisco, but is this a thing where you're going to list your top five, and I'll say if I agree with it or not, or am I going to give you moves that I think are better or what?
You could say moves that are better, yeah.
Okay, my number one move of the offseason for any team is the Rams getting Trent McDuffie. I think the Rams getting Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs solidifies them as the best team in the NFC. That move to me, and they got Watson, so they got both corners from the Chiefs. Um, that move to me was perfect because McDuffie's still young. I believe he's 25, or he's either 25 or 26. He's one of the best lockdown corners in the league. I'm assuming the Chiefs just didn't want to pay a corner as much as he's going to be wanting, and the Rams needed an all-in move because they only have maybe one more year with Stafford, two at the most, I would assume. Um, and they want to push all their chips forward to try to get one more championship before Stafford retires. And I think it was the perfect move for the Rams to get him. They gave him the 4-year, $120 million extension. Um, it was perfect for me. The Rams, that was the perfect move for the Rams to make, and they did it, and they solidified themselves as the best team in the NFC. I think this overtakes them, Seattle, just because of what Seattle has lost this offseason.
Yeah, Seattle's lost a
And what
lot
the
and haven't been able to
yes,
retain.
and what the Rams have gained. I think that this move, the Rams prove that they are the best team in the NFC, and and listen, the Rams are one of those teams. Their only first round pick that they've had in the last 10 years that they've taken is Jared Verse, and it was pretty damn good job for them keeping that
Defensive
pick
rookie
because
of the year
Verse
when he came
won Rookie
in.
of the
Yeah.
Year, and he's been outstanding in that linebacking core, and even off the edge too. He does a little bit of both. But no, I truly believe Trent McDuffie will make the difference, and Jalen Watson signing him as well. I think that's a very good corner duo um, that the Rams have because that was their one weakness where it was
Yes.
they weren't that great at. and they went out, they addressed it, they went all in, and I love that move for the Rams. So Mike Evans to me is a good move. Um, I need to see his health is number one. And the fact that the 49ers play right next to a power plant and the 49ers are known for injuries is the massive gripe that I have. But
That's fair. I mean, I fully
if
get
he's
that.
fully healthy, 100%. I think it's one of the best moves. But in my opinion, I don't think it's the best move. I think that it has to be Trent McDuffie, one of the best corners in the league.
I will say my number 2 was Trent McDuffie pairing with Jalen Watson
When,
to the Rams,
yeah,
just because of
and there you go.
the fact that Kobe Durant's not, he's not moving the needle for you. You needed another corner out there, and they went and
Roger
got one of the
McCreary
best
was
in the league.
average, and now he's a Lion. But
We
so
clap it up for Detroit and how they've been this offseason. Um,
I
no,
hate
but
my off season. I hate this Lions off season so much, so much,
why, bro? Why?
dude. It's if you want me to go on a rant, it's the fact that this team they asked Goff to restructure his deal. He frees up $32 million of cap space when they could have gotten 47. You could have converted it to a bonus, or you could have added another year at the end of his contract. And they didn't restructure Amon Ross. They didn't restructure Panay's contract. They haven't done anything that I care about. Their biggest move was what was their biggest move, Logan? I want you to tell me what do you think their biggest move of this offseason was.
Personally,
Roger McCreary?
I think Cade Mays is your biggest move, signing the center from Carolina. 3 years, $25 million. I thought that was a pretty good move. Um, Honestly,
I
I
think
think Juice
he's solid.
Scruggs moves the
I think
needle.
he's but the problem is he's terrible in rush. He's one of the worst graded on Pro
So,
Football Focus.
yes, he is
He
one
was
of the
one of
worst
the worst
graded. Yeah.
grade rush blocking or run blocking centers in the league. He's great. He was like elite at the pass blocking. He was elite at that. He was awful running the ball, and that's what the Lions want to do with Gibbs and now Isaiah Pacheco, which is my second biggest player of this offseason. How about that? And
I think Juice
offensive
Scruggs is
line is still an
slightly
issue.
third. He has to be third,
The
right? Juice Scruggs is
the
third.
entire defense is still an issue. You don't know what you're getting with Kirby. If Kirby Joseph is still alive at this point, Brian Branch isn't going to be back till midseason. Your
Right.
corner duo sucks. DJ Reed was not good with the money that he was paid, and Terry and Arnold would rather be on a podcast than learn how to cover a guy. He'd rather have pass interference calls than try to actually learn how to play the position of corner. And my defensive line, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, is garbage. So, things are going great in Detroit. Um, this offseason has been an F. It's been an F, F, F. And if they go into the draft and they just decide to draft Spencer Fanu or Akeem Messidor or so help me God if this team takes Kendrick Falk. Oh, that would be the cherry on top if they take that dude. No, it's been a terrible offseason. They haven't addressed any needs. They did get center, which I can't get mad at that. Cade Mays is, he's awful at running, right? Rush block, and that's what the Lions want to do. So that's great. With play action, he'll be decent at, but it's been an off season to where they haven't really made any major moves. They haven't really gotten better at any position except center. But then again, Graham Glasgow, you might as well put a traffic cone out there. He was insufferable out there. Taylor Decker's gone, and I don't even know if he's going to get signed now because he took they decided to part ways with him, take a $20 million pay cut because he got cut and he wasn't going to be getting that money from the Lions because he's hurt all the time. And your guards, are you starting Mahogany at left? Who knows? Who's starting at left tackle? We don't have one unless you're moving Panay. Well, then if you're moving Panay to left, who's playing right? We
This
still don't
draft,
know
I
that.
will say, this draft has a good amount of right tackles in it. So I feel like that's
It is.
probably what's in
Yeah, it
play
is.
more as
But
you move
it's
Pineda left.
and like if this team goes, trades up and selects, Maui Noah, be great. Panay and Maui Noah, great. But that's not happening. There's no world where the Lions are aggressive, and that's my biggest gripe with this team. They are never aggressive. They never make a big move. They never trade first round picks. They never make that move that a team needs to get over the hump. Every team has a trade that gets them over the hump. For the Chiefs, it was making that trade to move up all those spots to take Mahomes. For the Rams, it was the Stafford trade. It's so
Cleveland got over the hump
annoying.
making that Watson trade. I agree, man. Yeah.
Well, you guys are just quarterback purgatory. You're never going to have a good quarterback. No, I'm just playing. Um,
No, you don't say you're just playing. You're totally right. You're absolutely nailing it on the head.
at some point you will. At some point you will. It
No.
just won't be Watson. But that, yeah, like they backfire. Big trades backfire. But it's the fact that you tried. It's the fact that you said, you know what, we haven't. We need a need. There's a player out there that fits that need. We're gonna go get him. And the Browns knew that when they traded 3 first round picks, and you know it was a bad trade. But you learn from it and you rebuild. The Lions are in a position to where they can't rebuild, and I don't want them to rebuild because they still have one of the better rosters in the NFC when healthy. But you got a lot of players hurt. You're losing a bunch of guys. You lost Anzalone. You lost Al Qadim Muhammad. You lost Amik Robertson, and you're basically you're getting worse at these positions. You're signing a bunch of backups. You can say what you want about Alex Anzalone. At least he was a starter. You can say all you want about Al Qadim Muhammad. He had 11 sacks last year. I don't know. We got completely off track from the topic, but it's just been an absolutely annoying offseason from the Lions. It's like they don't want to make a big move. They want to just keep pushing things off. And then you got all these big contracts coming up to where you put $1 billion into 9 of your players. You don't know what's happening with Kirby. Brian Branch isn't coming back for a while. Your defense is going to suck next year. The Lions, they're not going to be good because all their players are either hurt or they underperformed. And maybe something happens to where they go into this draft and they just go, all in on one position. But the problem is you still need help at the offensive tackle position. You still need help on the O line. This team is driven by the O line. And
Yeah.
the entire defense from D line to corner to linebacker to safety, every single position needs an extra player, and they haven't done it. So, but yeah, let's get back to what we were originally talking about
Since we're
before I
on the
went on that
topic,
rant.
let's stay a little off track here. I'll give my 2 cents about my Browns off season since we're at it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I think the Browns have had a pretty decent off season.
I do too.
Looking at stuff, I will say there's been some question marks. Like, I don't think paying Zion Johnson 3 years, $49.5 million is a smart choice necessarily based off how he's been with the Chargers. Although it makes sense because Tom Telesco is on that staff in Cleveland right now. So it makes sense. He's the GM who hired him out of Boston College in the first round at the Chargers. So it makes sense there. He would go out and get a guy that matches. But I really like adding Elton Jenkins. Of course, if Jenkins isn't healthy, it's a little bit of a flyer on him. But I think Jenkins, when he's healthy, he's one of the better offensive linemen in the league. You'd trade for Titus Howard, which the long term contract with him, it's not really a long term contract when you break it down. It's really more of like a 2 year contract. Um, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to Titus Howard. It's a little hit or miss, but the thing is, you knew Cleveland coming in, pretty much their entire offensive line was going to be different. They had to address it in certain ways. They still need a left tackle. They've addressed almost
Yeah.
every other position on the board. They still need a left tackle. I think that's where they're going to go with in the draft. Where will it be at 6 or 24? I wonder if 6 is too early. I wonder if 6 will be too early, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I personally love the smaller moves they've made. Even as of today, we're recording this Wednesday into Thursday morning pretty late. They got Tylan Wallace from the Ravens, who's a good special teamer and good wide receiver depth. They also added AJ Epinesa, edge rusher from the Bills on a 1-year, $5 million deal, a guy who I'm really high on, who I think can have a breakout season somewhere else. I think now
Yeah.
him opposite of Myles Garrett, you might see the best of AJ Epinesa. I think that's one of the sneaky signings of the offseason that we're going to look back at the end of next season and we're like, how did we let this guy go here for that amount of money and he's
Yeah.
playing this good? I think that's a great signing for Cleveland. My favorite one is Quincy Williams, the linebacker from the New York Jets. I know what happened with New York this whole past season with Aaron Glenn. It just didn't work out. Issues off the field with them. But he's with Mike Rutenberg. Rutenberg was a coach for him before in the past. Defensive coordinator now for Cleveland. Brings him in. You lose Devin Bush to Cleveland. I almost said Cleveland. Chicago.
Chicago.
And massive overpay, by the way, for Chicago. $10 million plus for Devin Bush on a 3-year
He
deal.
was good, but yeah, I don't know if he's worth that money.
He wasn't consistent enough to get that money, but he was very good this past season. I think Quincy Williams is going to be very dangerous next to Carson Schweschinger. I think our linebacker room is even better now with Quincy Williams. The real question is what are they going to do in the draft? Is it wide receiver first? Is it left tackle first? You still need to address left tackle. That is very, very important. I feel like 6, like I said already, may just be too early.
Yeah. No, I think the Browns have had a decent offseason. With their rookie class last year, they really set themselves up to have success moving forward. They just need a quarterback, and that's going to be the biggest issue going forward. Is Watson or Shador is probably going to be your starter next year, so you're going to probably end up taking a gap year until 2027 when you have all those quarterbacks at the top of the class. Take one of those guys, but in terms of roster construction around them, I like the Browns roster. I think like if you would nitpick, I think that receiver is definitely a need. Like if
Yes.
you want to take, I think that like if Carnell Tate's there, you can take him. Or I know you like Maui Noah or an offensive tackle, but the Browns can go a bunch of different routes. But the best part about it is that they don't, at least in my opinion, have a undying, unbearable need other than quarterback.
Left tackle.
I feel
Left tackle for sure. Quarterback and left tackle. I think wide receiver too, but I think they're going to
But
be able
even
to
then, you
address
have
that.
Judy, and I think Judy will be better than he was last year.
He
He
can't be
had some up
worse.
and
That's
down
no shade on
moments.
Jerry Judy. He can't be worse. Most drops in
I
the
just don't
league.
think he's not a wide receiver one. He's
No,
not.
no. And Cleveland needs a wide receiver one. And they also need a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, maybe even a wide receiver 7. Because you would look at Cleveland's wide receiver room as a whole, as a unit, and you'd probably say, well, that's why I like Tylan Wallace coming. I think he's a sneaky good one coming from Baltimore. But you look at Cleveland's wide receiver unit, top to bottom, probably the worst in the league. Probably. Now
Yeah,
Miami, I would say, after Miami trading Jalen Waddle to the Broncos is probably up there, and Miami is just
I don't even know who their wide receiver one is now.
Miami is completely fire sale on
Yep,
the purest rebuild of all time. Like, who is Malik Willis even going to be throwing the football to? That's the
that's
real
what I'm
question.
saying. Who is their wide receiver one?
Is
I
Dwayne Eskridge still in Miami? Not like, I don't know. I don't know.
Devon Achan, and Devon Achan.
Back on our topic here, free agency moves. My other favorite move, it is tied to another one because you had Alec Pierce re-signed to the Colts on a 4-year, $114 million deal. In
It's a
turn,
buttload of money.
the Pittsburgh Steelers end up getting Michael Pittman Jr. in a trade and then an extension for 3 years, $59 million. That move, Michael Pittman Jr. to Pittsburgh, is one of my favorite moves this offseason.
Really?
They needed
Oh.
a solid wide receiver too. opposite of DK Metcalf, and they just got maybe the best wide receiver too you could. I think people forget how consistent Michael Pittman Jr. was in Indianapolis, kind of overshadowed by how good Jonathan Taylor is at running the ball and a bunch of other stuff with Indy. He held the fort down even when it was really at their lowest moments as a franchise the last couple years. Michael Pittman Jr. is very, very good.
Yeah, he
And
is.
I
He
think
just
Pittsburgh themselves, I'm going to put this out there. Pittsburgh's had the best offseason. They've had the best offseason so far, in my opinion, as a franchise. You can make the argument the Rams with what they did with McDuffie and Watson. I think what Pittsburgh's done with Michael Pittman Jr., adding Rico Dowdle in the running game. Yet you do lose Kenneth Gainwell to Tampa, but you almost
you
pretty
still
much
don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back.
he's
You
coming
don't have
back.
a core. I mean,
He's coming back. Let's be honest.
I would assume yes. If I had to guess, yes, he will be coming back, but he hasn't made that announcement yet. And if not, Will Howard's your quarterback. I love Will. He brought me a national title, but I don't know if he's ready for that.
It's Aaron
So
Rodgers, brother. We don't even need to talk about it. It's Aaron Rodgers. We know how he is. This is how he operates. He's gonna be back.
I
I'm in the world
personally
of
loved
thinking that.
the running backs with both Travis. What? How do you say his last name now? He just can't. Is it
Achan, just like Devon Achan. Travis
Achan?
Achan.
Travis Achan, which is going to be weird to think about and say during the season. But going to the Saints when they needed a running back badly, and you had the Saints, or not the Saints, sorry, the Chiefs signing Kenneth Walker from the Seahawks.
Yep.
That is both the 8 and the 9 picks in the draft that people thought Jeremiah Love was going to go to.
Was a
And
fill-in.
now, um, Washington, maybe. Washington is definitely an option. Arizona is definitely an option. Um,
I
but
think Tennessee
I
might be an
no,
option there. I wanted to talk a little bit about Tennessee in our next
that's true. Yeah, but
topic as
I
well.
loved both the running back signings. I think that both of those for the Saints and the Chiefs are going to help out a ton because those are both formidable running backs. And hell, one of them is a Super Bowl MVP. So
It's fair. It's fair. Another one of my favorite moves. I'll end it right here. You're getting Kyler Murray on a 1-year vet minimum. Like, that can't be one of the best moves. It has to be. It just has to be. I mean, I know Kyler
it
Murray.
does.
I know
He sucks.
he sucks.
He
Okay?
does suck.
He
He's
doesn't
terrible.
suck. He's just mid. He just once November comes
He's not
around
even
and
mid. He's
whatnot.
terrible.
But it still has to be the fact of money. You're paying the guy $1 million. You're paying him $1.3 million, the vet minimum, to compete with JJ McCarthy. And if Kyler Murray, if you hit on it,
Oh my god! If
then he's going to make
JJ
a lot of
loses,
money.
JJ loses to Kyler Murray. That would be so funny. Oh, please let it happen.
It has to still be one of the
Um,
best moves because it's a win-win for Minnesota, and there's no real loss there.
yeah. Yeah. In essence,
You're
he
talking Kyler
sucks,
Murray, who
and
still was
there's a
one of the
reason
most
why he's
talented
making the vet
quarterbacks when
minimum.
he was coming in.
Yeah, but there's a reason why he's making the vet minimum. He sucks.
Correct. Because he has
Um,
almost $37 million getting paid to him by Arizona next season. That's why he's on the vet minimum.
he's no, because he sucks. He's too short. He can't read the field. While he still can run the ball somewhat, he doesn't have the arm strength he used to. He doesn't have the arm accuracy he used to. He can't see above the offensive line. So it's the reason why he's a vet minimum. It's not just because of the money; it's because he's bad. He's not good anymore. So, sure. Why not? If it works out, great. Nobody better than Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell can make water into wine. So, but at the same time, it's like he's not good anymore. He's not. He's bad. But we said the same thing about Sam Darnold, and look what happened. Sam Darnold had a renaissance of his career. He went to Minnesota, he got right, then he got a payday from Seattle. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. So yeah, no, anything can happen. Hey, at least Sam Darnold can see above his offensive line. He's Kyler Murray.
He'll be
Yikes.
he'll be
Um,
wearing a booster seat for sure. He'll be
One more that
having
I'll
sky shoes.
one more that I'll bring up. We're on the topic of best free agent moves. While this comes in, the team is not really looked well upon by the league right now, and it's the fact that the way they handled their business this offseason.
Ah,
Um, I still love the Trey Hendrickson move to Baltimore. I know that they backed out of the Max Crosby deal because of the physical that they took place. And it must have been really bad because most physicals, if you like, are even as at all able to play next year, yeah, you're done. You're good. You're like, welcome to Baltimore. But something either must have been seriously wrong or Max Crosby had a change of heart. I have no idea.
let's
He's
be
mad at
honest
saying
here,
that.
Spencer. You want to know
Um,
what really happened? Baltimore looked at the situation and they realized, okay, we don't need to give up 2 first-round picks for another good edge rusher. We can just
yeah,
go out and sign a guy who is very, very upset with the team who's in our division, who we happen to play for. Let's just go get that guy, and we'll just send this guy back to Vegas where he wants to be anyway. Like that's really what it came down to. I know
yeah.
that
I
they're
mean,
going to use the physical. He was going to fail a physical anyway. He just had surgery in January. Like, let's be honest here. If you're
yeah,
really looking at it, he was going to fail a physical right now if he was going to play
yep,
football.
100%. No, I agree. Yeah, I think there's something to do with that. I think it was the fact that they said, you know, while Trey Hendrickson is not as good as Max Crosby, he's still a pretty good edge rusher.
Yeah,
But then reports came out that the Ravens were planning on having Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. But then you
I'm
got to
not I'm
realize
not buying
that
that at
means you're
all.
paying like 60 plus $1 million to both your edge rushers. And I don't know if you can really do that with all the money you're already giving Lamar, with all the money you're giving Zay Flowers, with all the money you're giving Derrick Henry, Roquan
Which
Smith,
is why
all these
those
guys.
reports
Kyle
I'm not
Hamilton is
buying
going
at
to need an
all. And
extension soon.
there was no world where those two were going to be on the same team with each other because
No.
they both call for too much money. And that's why I say Baltimore backed out because they knew they could get an edge rusher who might not be on the exact same caliber as Max Crosby, but maybe even a tier
Still pretty
slightly
good.
below. Pretty still probably top 7 edge rusher in the league right now, roughly around there. And you don't need to give up 2 first-round picks to get him. You can just be like, here's, whatever his range is. It's like 26, 27 million a season. Here you go. Problem solved.
Yeah. It's a bunch of things and the controversy that led to it with Baltimore. I remember when I read that, I was like, this is unbelievable. At this point, Max Crosby might as well just stay in Vegas for his career. The whole trade things, I don't know if it's going to happen. I know now he's pretty much set in stone that he's going to stay in Vegas. Which, if you think about it, Vegas isn't all that in a bad situation anymore with all the signings they got, but their money, I mean, they spent it. They spent
They
their
spent
money.
it and they added an extra $30 million that they didn't think they were going to have after making that deal. So it will make it a little bit tighter moving forward than they originally anticipated, but they kept all the guys that they
Yeah,
signed. It's not like they ended up missing out because of Baltimore backing out on the guys that they brought in. They still had Linderbaum. They still got Quay Walker. They still returned, what's his name in the defensive backfield? I'm blanking right now. I think it's Eric Stokes. Am I thinking it's Eric Stokes?
Eric Stokes.
Um, I think I got the name mixed up there. But they still added a lot of pieces to their team. And the Raiders, I think the Raiders have a good chance in year one next year, of course, with Indiana Hoosier at the quarterback, which we all expect. I think the Raiders might be a sneaky team
Are the
for next
Chiefs the
season.
worst team in the West starting off the year next year?
It's hard to say that, but I think they're closer to
I
that.
mean,
I think they're
I
closer
don't
to
think. I
that
mean,
than the best.
I think Denver's better, and I think the Chargers are better. And you got to think about it. I mean, the Chiefs just traded for Justin Fields, so Justin Fields is probably going to be playing at least probably half the season, I would assume, before Mahomes comes back,
Possibly.
depending on their record. Maybe longer. Who knows? But I mean, if they're going to draft Mendoza, and then in the second round. I mean, the Raiders have a ton of picks to get this right. I think that the Raiders could overtake the Chiefs because the Chiefs without Mahomes are just a dead, dead franchise. And I don't know, man. I think they might be the worst team in the AFC West next year.
Maybe a
As
sneak
much
ahead to a
as
preview. Maybe a
crazy as that
sneak
is to
ahead to our
say,
previews when it comes up later on down the road.
as crazy as that is to say, even if Mahomes was healthy, I just get no juice from this Chiefs team anymore. They lost McDuffie. They lost Jalen Watson. I mean, they got Kelsey back again, which is cool, I guess. Um, but I mean, dude, this is
It's
we're
rough.
getting to a point to where this Chiefs team is really we're starting to look at the dynasty being done.
It feels like we're closer to that being like a reality than we've ever been right now. But I think there's a world where that can change for sure because it's
Yeah,
Kansas City. Andy Reid's still bumping and grinding. If
he's
Mahomes
still
comes
there. He
back,
hasn't retired yet.
if Mahomes comes back healthy and still plays like we've seen, I think Kansas City still has a good shot. Adding Kenneth Walker, I think, is a good starting point. I think
Yep.
Kansas City, and we'll pivot now to our next topic here post draft thoughts. One of my thoughts here for Kansas City is with what they've done in free agency, I kind of felt like they were one of those teams, of course, looking out for Jeremiah Love. I think now they have to pivot. They need more offensive line still. You lost Jawan Taylor. Josh Simmons is still young at left tackle, and they're getting younger on that offensive line and
Yep.
less experience. They need to add another guard or maybe right tackle. I think Maui Noah would be in play there. I think Fano could be in play there at number 9. Wide receiver could still be in play. Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, I think could be in play more than previously thought. They could still go corner too. They could go, I mean, Caleb Downs is a safety. They could go Caleb Downs now too. They could go Caleb Downs. They could
They
go
need a
Jermod
lot.
McCoy if people think Jermod McCoy's a first rounder, even though he has the injury concerns, which you could see him drop out of the first round entirely. They're still other good corners. Mansour Delane from LSU is the best one, in my opinion, in this draft class. They'd go him at 9. I think Kansas City has a little bit more wiggle room now because it feels like they have more holes than they had before.
Yeah. I did this team is they have a lot of holes to fill. And it's the fact that like they traded away or they traded away their best player on defense. Well, no, Chris Jones.
Chris Jones is still that
I,
guy.
Chris Jones is still the best, but in secondary, the best player in their secondary, and they lost another critical part of their secondary as well in Jalen Watson. So now they got to fill both corner spots. Their D line outside of Karloftis and Chris Jones is, it's okay, but like safety still needs help. They still have Nick Bolton, but I don't know, man. Like I said, I think that the Raiders, if they get this draft right, I think that they could be the third best team in the West. I think that the Chiefs might finish last in the West, depending on things. But that's for conversations down the road. So still have we still have the draft to get to. So
Another thought here, and I'm going to go back all the way up to number 2 on the board with the New York Jets. And I feel like a lot of people have just been kind of filling in, oh, best defensive player available. A lot of people think that's Arvell Reese from Ohio State. The more and more we get closer to the draft and basing off the New York Jets' moves this offseason, I think it's less and less likely that Arvell Reese is the pick at number 2. I think it's more so going to be an edge rusher still who has experience. I think David Bailey's the name to circle here for the New York Jets. I think it may be too early, but we've seen crazy. Maybe it's a wide receiver at number 2. They need another wide receiver. It wouldn't fully shock me. I think it's edge rusher though for them at number 2, and they go wide receiver probably at 16. Um, but I don't think it's going to be Arvell Reese anymore at number 2. And in fact, I've never really been the guy anyway.
I didn't either.
You and I are both in that same thought process.
I love Arvell. But like he really did not do much the latter half of the season at Ohio State. I mean, he like really came into his own in the first half of the season, and then just seemed like he kind of fizzled out. He hit his ceiling, and he was kind of just. And that's not saying he was bad. He was still a very good linebacker, but and he was kind of a hybrid trying to be off the rush as well. But after like I said, after the second half of the season, it was kind of just like, yeah, he made some plays here and there, but he never was that guy. And I mean, in the playoff game, forget about it. Um, no, I've started to come around to I would not be surprised. Um, because the thing with Ruben Bain about his short arms, I don't understand. If you can just rush the passer, I don't care if you have, infinitely long arms or short arms. I don't care. Just get to the quarterback.
Yep.
But I like Sonny Styles, man. Like the more and more I think about it, like could there be a possibility he's the guy at two? Is there any is there any way in the world that the Jets take him at two? Because I mean, that combine was unbelievable. He has all the athleticism in the world. I think he's better than Arvell Reese, and he's more experienced than Arvell Reese. He's done it for longer. And I think the Jets just need like a leader on this defense. They just need like they still have CJ Mosley, right?
No.
No, he's gone. I can't remember. I thought he was still there, anchoring there, but Sonny Styles would be a good decision for them to have at the linebacking position because we've seen it. We've seen how good he is. So
Right.
I've
Is it
come
too
around to
early to
that
take an
idea a lot
off-ball
more.
linebacker though? That had number 2 overall.
Yeah.
Maybe if you get some pick swaps, maybe Tennessee trades up 2, drop down to 4. Maybe you can justify it a little bit more. I personally don't fully disagree with that idea. I don't think it's the craziest thing. It's just wild to kind of think of an off-ball linebacker going second overall. Um, he might just be the best player, period. And the Jets would get probably the best leader out of any player you can get in the draft. I like that move. I think it would be a good move for the Jets.
Hmm.
I just think that they would maybe go edge rusher still. And you and I both agree about Ruben Bain, okay? You and I think he's probably the best player, and we think
Yeah.
that it's a little overblown, the concerns of his arm length. Yeah, they're not as long as you want them to be, of course.
But
You
Aiden
really want your edge
Hutchinson has
rusher to
the
be
same thing, and
32
Aiden
inches and longer,
Hutchinson is a
but
Pro Bowler. He's a great player.
yes. I think there's a world where both him and Caleb Downs possibly fall out of the top 10, depending on how the board falls. I'm not predicting that to happen. That's just a thought in my head that come draft night we could see. I could see both
Hmm.
those guys falling out the top 10 because of the arm length concerns with Ruben Bain and Caleb Downs. You're talking position slash medical concerns, which we both think are overblown, and I think Caleb Downs could still go pretty early. Um,
Yeah.
but it's a possibility. We've seen safeties not be picked in the top 10, others who've had maybe not the same amount of hype as Caleb Downs, but similar. A guy like Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame was very hyped up coming out the draft. He still went 14th overall, when
Yep.
people thought he could have been a top 5, top 7 pick. So it's not like we haven't seen that. So I think that could happen. I think it's pretty realistic for both those guys, depending on how the board falls, of course, to not be top 10 picks because of
Yeah.
needs that other teams now have that you didn't see in free agency. Like with Kansas City, they could use another edge rusher opposite of Karlaftis, but now they also need some offensive line help. They also still needed wide receiver help as is, and now maybe some secondary help. Maybe they
Hmm.
go other ways. Maybe some other guys, we thought maybe Jeremiah Love could go as early as 3. The Cardinals now, you could argue, need another edge rusher opposite of Josh Sweat, while also going offensive line, but as an offensive lineman at number 3 too early in this draft because most of your
Yeah.
best guys are right tackles, not left tackles. Granted, they need a right tackle. They don't need a left tackle because they have Paris Johnson Jr. Will you justify taking a right tackle at number 3 overall? These are all these discussions here. And that's why I
Yeah.
think these two guys can fall.
Oh, please let Downs come to the Lions, especially with the uncertainty with Kirby Joseph. I wouldn't care if we don't address line or the edge rusher position or tackle. If Caleb Downs is there at 17, you jump on there. But that won't happen. He'll get taken before then.
Yes. Since we're on the topic of edge rushers again, I think the fit for Arvell Reese, since we already discussed him, something just tells me Washington at 7 is like the perfect fit.
Yeah, get him with Dan Quinn. See if they can unlock, the first half of Ohio Arvell from this past year with Ohio State. And it's not like I said, it's not like he was bad. He was never bad. He was at another level in the first half, and then he kind of settled down and became just good in the
Yes.
second half. And unlocking his potential, I think he has a very high ceiling. I think he can be one of the better players in this draft and one of the best linebackers in the league. It's just unlocking that first half or whatever it was that Matt Patricia got him to unlock at the beginning of his tenure this past year at OSU. And then what happened, why it fizzled out, why the second half wasn't as good. Did he get tired? Did he get figured out? Did his techniques get, exposed? Who knows? Um, but I do think Arvell can still be a very good player in this league. I'm not going to bash him. I've been swayed into liking Sonny Styles a lot more than Arvell.
I also just think, looking at Arvell Reese, I think most teams are looking at him as a true edge rusher in the NFL. And I think that's why you've seen these projections of him being so high as second overall. I just don't see what he's done so far doesn't tell me he should be worth the second overall pick. I think it's more
Yeah.
justifiable if you pick him at like pick 7. Because then it's like, okay, best player available on our board. We saw the talent. He can translate maybe better than anyone in the NFL. This is a good pick here at 7. At number 2,
Hmm.
you've had the proven David Bailey, Reuben Bain Jr. on the board. Measurable, I think measurables are slightly overblown sometimes with certain guys because you just got to watch the tape. I understand you want the prototypical, his arm length, he can, he stretch man, he can touch everything. Or, just he's not big enough weight wise.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter sometimes. Some guys are just that good. I think Reuben Bain Jr. is the epitome of that.
I
I
think
think
Ruben
Arvell
Bain's
Reese
going to be a
should be
star.
taken
I think
anywhere from
yeah,
4 to 7. I could see that range being more
I think
realistic.
Ruben's going to be a star. I think he's going to be a star in this league, and I don't care about the short arms or any of that. Like I said, Aiden Hutchinson doesn't have the longest arms, and he still gets the quarterback. And he had like 15 sacks last year, coming off an insane knee injury.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Ruben Bain could be one of the like an Aiden Hutchinson type esque player where he can be that stud on the edge for whatever team he decides to go to.
I want to talk about
And I
Tennessee.
just will never understand the short arms thing. I
No,
think
yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
I
Too
agree.
finicky, too ticky tacky for me at least.
I want to talk about Tennessee because I think that pick now, looking at the Titans' free agency moves they've made, I think they've really set themselves up to take whoever's their best player on their board at 4, no matter what position it is. And honestly, if you look at the moves they've made, they've gotten better without actively overspending,
Yeah.
which is something you don't always see with teams that have some of the most money to go out and spend. They didn't do that. They got better and didn't drop bags like crazy. I think Tennessee's a team to circle for being one of those worst to firsts. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying it's one to keep an eye on for next year because there's always 2 or 3 teams that go worst to first. Tennessee's
Yep.
one that I have very high to watch out for next season. But I think players like if Arvell Reese is there, they could go Jeremiah Love. Maybe they go wide receiver. Maybe they even still go Reuben Bain Jr. because they're just that high on him too. You add
Hmm.
Jeremiah. You add Jermaine Johnson at edge, so it's not a massive pressing need. You got John Franklin Myers in free agency. Still one of my other favorite free agency moves this offseason was getting John Franklin Myers because his impact on that Broncos defense, I think, kind of gets overshadowed by some of the other star players in Denver. Um,
Yes, I agree.
so I think that move's probably my honorable mention one that I did not say earlier. Um, they have just a lot of wiggle room at number 4. They could literally go wherever, and I think they could still get a very, very good player, maybe the best player. Maybe they could go Sonny Styles even at number 4. That could be the
Yeah.
earliest we see Sonny Styles if he doesn't go 2. Um, Tennessee, they're playing with house money, in my opinion.
Yeah, them and the Giants. I think the Giants are one of those teams that I would watch out for too to maybe make one of those jumps. Um, but I do think that Tennessee, they have so many resources that they can use to where they can go a lot of different places in the draft. I still think that they should take a wide receiver um, just to help out Cam Ward.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I do think that they can go just a lot of different ways because while Wandale Robinson is a decent signing, he's nothing more than a wide receiver 2 at best. So
agreed.
you still need that wide receiver 1. Good thing is, you have Carnell Tate. If you really want to take a Jordan Tyson that high,
Yeah, I
you
don't think
go
Makai
ahead.
Lemon would make sense for Tennessee because he is more of that slot receiver, and that's
Not
exactly what
Makai Lemon,
Wandale
yeah.
Robinson really is. So I think a lot of talk early on about Makai Lemon might be the number 1 receiver off the board. I think with specifically Tennessee, if they go wide receiver, which they could at number 4,
Yeah,
they kind of I think have erased that thought process with Makai Lemon, in my opinion. Plus his shenanigans in Indianapolis if people really read into that too much. I personally don't,
yeah,
but I heard he did an interview not that well either. So maybe that's off-putting for some teams. So I think if Tennessee goes wide receiver, it'd probably be Tate, if I had to guess.
yeah,
But
yes.
but they're playing with house money. Playing with house money. There's a couple others I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go back to the AFC West, and I want to talk about the Chargers simply because even though you and I are both pretty high on them, there's one thing they haven't done this offseason, and that's really addressed the interior of their offensive line.
Yeah.
They've lost a lot, which granted I think they're okay with losing the guys they lost there,
Hmm.
but they haven't addressed it at all this offseason. I think
Yeah.
in the first round, expect them to go interior offensive line. Of course, I feel like
Yeah.
every year someone will say D tackle for them too, just because. Um, you could see maybe a Caleb Banks or a Caden McDonald possibly, but I think they have to go guard. If they could, I think they would trade up for Venga Ioane, but probably not going to happen. I could see, like, the guy I'm really thinking is Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon at 22. I
Yep.
think that's the one that makes a ton of sense, and they need a guard. They just need that interior offensive line
They'll
because
take one. Yeah. I
Herbert
fully
was
think that
on
they'll
his
take a guard.
booty. His booty, shout out Kayshawn Booty, all season long last year.
Hmm. No, I completely agree. I think interior of that offensive line, especially since you already have your tackles position, figured out, um, with Joel and Rashawn Slater, um, I fully believe that they will get a guard because their interior is not great. And Justin Herbert, while he's a good quarterback, I feel like his offensive line has to be better, and it's going to open up your run game more, so you can kind of invest more into Omari and Hampton, your first round pick last year. So yeah, interior, I believe they will address in the draft 100%.
Another thought here. I want to address one of your good friends' favorite teams, Carolina Panthers. They're one for me that I feel like they could go a world of different directions because I see a world where they could go back to back wide receiver in the first round if one's available that they really like to pair with McMillan. Coker kind of showed out a little bit this season, but they definitely need more wide receiver depth. I don't know if they would do it in round 1. My favorite thing in my head is just imagining Caden McDonald next to Derek Brown.
Yeah,
They don't need edge rusher anymore because they decided to give Jalen Phillips the Brinks truck, which is absurd in my
that was
opinion.
an insane amount of
The
money.
biggest overpay of the entire offseason was Jalen Phillips to
Yeah,
Carolina, and that could be a massive risk.
detrimental.
I'll say this about them: Carolina and Washington. What are we doing with these edge rushers and these contracts? Jalen Phillips and Odafe Owe getting $25 and $30 million a season. Whew, for basically half a season of production
Yeah, pretty
is
much. Jalen Phillips was kind of he was decent in
nuts.
Miami, but he was nothing special. And then he kind of came into his own in Philly, so maybe that unlocked something. But I don't think he's not worth
He's not
$30 million.
worth $30
Absolutely
million,
not.
and Odafe Owe isn't worth $25 million to Washington.
Oh, neither
Owe
of them.
had what, half a season at the Chargers after being traded from Baltimore,
Yep.
and I mean he had 7.5 sacks. He's not worth $25 million. I can tell you that. So that to me is probably worse than Jalen Phillips. Because Jalen Phillips, like you said, you've actually seen it over the course of time. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Everyone knows his story in college. He was medically retired at UCLA, transferred to Miami to try and play football again. Balled out there 1 year, got drafted later in the first round to the Dolphins. Was kind of banged up in Miami, but he showed flashes, but it wasn't always that good. And then you just saw him get traded to Philly, absolutely balled out when he was in
Yep.
Philadelphia and got that $30 million. With Away, basically didn't see much production at all whatsoever, except in the run game. You saw run game production, but you didn't necessarily see sacks in Baltimore. Goes to the Chargers, gets 7.5 sacks. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, this guy can be the superstar. Pay him $25 million. To me, that one's even worse than Jalen Phillips. But back on Carolina, everyone kind of penciled in an edge rusher or defensive tackle. And the edge rusher, I mean, they don't really need it anymore because they also have Nick Scorton. Nick Scorton was
Yeah.
pretty decent as a rookie and could maybe take a next jump for next year. Maybe safety. I think safety's a sneaky position to watch. They could go get a Dylan Thieneman, an Emmanuel McNeil Warren, possibly for that defense. They also addressed the linebacker position this offseason, which they've never done. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of narrowed down to defensive tackle, wide receiver, safety in round one. Could they go offensive
Yeah.
line? Possibly, because Ike Ekwonu is banged up. Maybe they want to go get an offensive lineman just for security reasons there. I don't think so. I don't think so, though. Carolina's one of those teams, and Washington, that have had some off seasons where it's like, okay, high risk, high reward. You might
Yep.
completely fumble the bag.
Or it might work out in your favor.
It
Who
could work
knows?
out in your favor, massive dividends.
Hmm.
Carolina scares me though, because they are boom or bust written all over them for next season.
I just still don't trust Bryce Young. I don't.
I don't either. There's
He's
another
way
team in the
too
NFC
inconsistent for my
South that I
liking.
trust a little bit more that's coming up, and I think they've made better moves. We'll get into that later on moving forward, but Carolina, man, it's hard
Their run
because,
game is also going to take a hit because they lost Rico Dowdle.
yep,
So now it's just back to Chuba Hubbard. And while I still think Chuba Hubbard's a solid running back, I don't think he's as good as he used to be.
right.
Um, and their O line is banged up with Ike Ekwonu. Um, they had to get a new center because they lost Cade Mays. Um, and I mean their defense, their secondary outside of J.C. Horn is still questionable. So it's a lot of question marks. And at the end of the day, the biggest one, at least to me, is Bryce Young because I don't trust him. I just don't. So
Charlotte, North Carolina, up in a frenzy because it feels like this team could be either an NFC championship contender next year or probably last in the NFC South and maybe no in between.
yep,
We will have to see for Carolina. Those are my, some of anyway, post free agency thoughts on the draft. I will be making my own mock draft yet again. Mock draft 4.0 will be coming out probably by the time this episode does air. Um, and while we're at it as well, since we're on the topic of just other content, we just want to say to the folks out there before we get into our college football talk here. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't, you should do that
Yep.
right now. Should hit the push notification bell as well to stay up to date on all of our new videos. We've been very active on the shorts. The shorts
Yeah.
have been popping, and we appreciate it. We've gotten 20 more subscribers since we've started our shorts content. So we appreciate everyone out there who has started to follow us. And like I said, subscribe to the channel, hit the push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos. If you want to continue to listen to this show, you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts too. So we appreciate the love. Let's get us to 100
Okay.
subscribers. We're 7 away from the time of recording.
Let's go. Let's
Get
go.
us to 100, and then we have the rest of the world in front of us from there. College football win totals dropped a few days ago, and there's a good amount of them that I just want to talk about tonight. And maybe way too early predictions, if you will, on these, because some of these, in my opinion, are like so far off. They're either so far off, or it's teams where it's like that team only has that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to see. And we're gonna have to start off with this one. Simply because of brand name and the amount. Alabama, 8.5. Their over under win total is 8.5
No,
for
I think
next
they'll be
season.
above that. I think they'll at least get 9. 8 wins? That doesn't sound right.
8.5. It's the lowest it's been for an Alabama team in 19 years.
No,
19 years.
I think they'll get above that.
It's understandable though, because one thing I've noticed anyway with the trend with the SEC, you got to remember now they're playing 9 conference games. And so you've kind of seen that be reflected in their win totals for next season, projected win totals. Georgia and Texas are tied for first at 9.5. No one is a double-digit prediction right now on sports betting apps for their over/under win total. None of them are double digits. Georgia and Texas are tied for first at 9.5. It's kind of nuts. But
That
Alabama
is crazy.
specifically at 8.5 is like, whoa.
That is
I
crazy to think about.
And here's the thing, Spencer. I disagree with you. Right now, I would probably go under. I would probably go under for Alabama because I just have questions because they haven't done too much to really get better. In the quarterback situation, is it Keelan Russell? What I think Alabama fans want? Is it going to be Austin Mack? You lost Hollywood Smothers, who originally transferred to you and then said, no, I'm going to pair up at Texas. It's kind of, I don't know. I got a lot of questions about Alabama next year, and I think there's a lot more in the SEC right now that feels like, okay, a little bit more consistent. I can say, yeah, they've got it, and Kalen DeBoer's got a lot of questions to answer anyway, still in Alabama.
That's fair. I guess we'll just have to see.
Of course, this one's also going to be early. And our beloved team, Ohio State, 9.5. Ohio State, if you don't include the COVID year, we've already talked about this off air. The last time Ohio State didn't have 10 or more wins was in 2011, the Luke Fickell season, 6-7. But Ohio
Yeah.
State's got the gauntlet.
It's just a tough schedule next year, and I think I'll go over. I think they'll get 10 wins. I think that they'll lose to. I think they'll lose two of Indiana, USC, Oregon, hell, even at Iowa and Michigan, and Texas. Got all these games to think about. So if I had to
Buckeyes
choose,
fans' blood pressure is going to be through the roof next season. That's all I'm going to say before you.
yes, they'll lose one of either like Texas, USC, or Indiana. I think they'll lose two of those. I think they'll win the other ones, if I had to guess. But I'll go over because this offense is still really good, and while the defense has some question marks, I still have a good amount of faith in this offense, and Julian saying another year taking a step up. This offensive line hopefully getting better than it was last season. I fully believe that they'll get 10 wins.
I agree. I'm going over. Barely over, though, of course. I think the same. I think 10-2 is probably a realistic season for Ohio State fans. And I think
Yeah.
that because of our overall historical thought process as a Buckeye fan base, got to go 12-0, got to go undefeated, win a national championship.
Every year.
That's just not the space we live in anymore in college football. We proved it anyway. Ohio State proved that in 24. You can lose 2 games and maybe could be the best thing that happens to you. So
Yep.
I think 10-2 is a pretty realistic season for Ohio State. And honestly, I think there's a world where 9-3 Ohio State would still make the playoff. So
Yes.
we'll have to see if that were to come to fruition. I think it could be very realistic, though. Here's one. We got to go to the Big 12. 2 Big 12 teams in particular I want to talk about. Texas Tech, with the biggest odds out of anybody out there, 11.5.
I'll go under. I think that they'll go 11-1. I don't think they'll go 12-0. The Big 12 is better, is decent.
Yes, I agree. I also think people are like, I was very bullish on Texas Tech last season. I was high on them. I said they'd make the playoff. I think too many people are drinking the Brendan Sorsby Kool-Aid, thinking that he's going to be a night and day difference from Baron Morton. I'm not completely sold on the fact that Sorsby is like night and day better
They
than
play
Baron
at
Morton.
Oklahoma State next year.
That's
They
the
play
next team I wanted to talk about, Spence. That's the next team I wanted to talk about. Oklahoma State, over under win total, 6.5.
I'll say over. I'll say they get 7-5. I think Eric Morris and Drew Mestamaker can give them 7 wins this season, and they had one of the top portal transfer classes this offseason, and they brought in a ton of new guys there at Stillwater, and it couldn't have gotten much worse than it did last year. So yeah, why not? We'll say 7-5. We'll say over.
I get the conservative nature of this for sure when it comes to Oklahoma State, simply because they are bottom of the barrel the last couple of years with Mike Gundy there in the Big 12. But it's the Big 12. That's what I got to say. It's the Big 12, and any year, granted, I think Texas Tech, BYU can kind of throw maybe Arizona State and Utah might be like a core nucleus of the top of the
Yeah.
conference right now. We'll see what Utah is next season, of course, with Morgan Scalley, head coach, Kyle Whittingham now at Michigan, still have Devon Dampier and whatnot. But Oklahoma State, like, why not? I fully
Why not?
agree. I think they get over. I think they'll probably get a little bit higher than that too. I think 8-4, maybe 9-3 is a very realistic possibility for the Cowboys next season. So I would completely go over on 6.5. I get why it's conservative, like I said, but I think they went a little too conservative with Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I think they could have gone 7.5.
That would have been close. If they would have been 7.5, I said 7-5, so I guess I would have said I had to go under, but that would have been close. That would have been the number for me.
I want to go to the ACC. 2 teams in the ACC. One is Cal Berkeley, the Golden Bears, a team who I'm really high on next year. With Tosh Lapoy coming in, you still have Jaron Kiave Sagapulatele, and you're pretty much going to get a rejuvenated defense now with Lapoy there. Over under win total 7.5. Probably right around where people would say. I'm high on Cal. I'm smashing the over. I think Cal realistically is a 9-3
I'll
team.
go 8-4. I'll be right there with you. I love that I think that quarterback's going to be really good. I think Josh Boy is going to be a good coach for them. That defense is going to be a hell of a lot better than it was last year. And Cal didn't have an awful year last year, but they're going to be a lot better this year.
I think too many people are sleeping on Cal I think that Cal has a legit chance to be what SMU was a couple years ago with Kevin Jennings.
With how
Granted, they
bad
still
the
have
ACC is in football, who knows? Maybe they can make a run at the title game.
I mean, we just had a 5-loss conference champion. Who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe it's a 6-loss team in the ACC next year. Maybe they're pushing for even 7.
7-6, Cal wins the ACC.
That still wouldn't be the over. That's the problem. Still wouldn't hit the over with that one. But I think Cal is. They deserve to be talked about way more than they've been. I think
Yeah.
right now. Who knows? That could bite me in my butt. I could say Florida makes the playoff again, and they go, 4
Why
and 8.
not? Yeah.
Why not? But that's what we're in the business of doing. We're in the business of saying
I'm
our
going
opinion,
on the
whether
Hawaiian
we're right
roller
or wrong.
coaster ride. I'm saying why not? We're having the Rainbow Warriors make the playoffs next year. We're riding the waves. We're riding the
Maybe
waves.
you're writing. I think you're writing maybe a little different kind of waves on that one.
No, we're right. The Hawaiian roller coaster ride is going to continue, just like it is in March Madness. They made the tournament for the men's team, so
That's true. It's very true. Last team in the ACC I wanted to talk about. Of course, we have to. We have to talk about Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Their projected win total over under 4.5.
under. Belichick's a disgrace to college football. The fact that he's bringing in Bobby Petrino
Why
to
not?
coach this,
Bobby
to help
Petrino
coach this.
always kept the boat afloat in Fayetteville, Arkansas,
Yeah, and he's got a great reputation.
on and off the field. Yes, he does.
Yeah, no, under. He's a disaster. This has been a disaster of a hire, and North Carolina's going to suck next year again. I don't care what anyone says. I have no trust in Bill Belichick.
You're wrong. I'm smashing the over.
My God.
I am smashing the over. However, they're still not going to make a bowl game. They will be 5-7. But I'm smashing the over.
Yeah, smashing.
I am smashing the over with the Tar Heels on their win total. Give me the Tar Heels to still miss a bowl game. But it will be 5-7. Here's a couple more SEC ones. Auburn, 6.5.
Over. I like Byron Brown a lot.
I like Alex Golish a lot. I like Byron Brown a lot. I think Auburn's in a very good place right now as a just athletic program, period, across the board. Outside of course, basketball. We don't need to talk about basketball. Of course, the 16 and 15 basketball team should have made the tournament, of course, in SEC fan bases' minds. But I think, like, structure-wise, it's finally there for Auburn. I think Alex Golish, in 2 or 3 years, we might look back and be like, oh, yeah, he was the best hire of this coaching cycle.
Yeah.
I'm that high on him. I'm smashing the over. Auburn fans, enjoy the ReliaQuest Bowl next season. It's at least ReliaQuest Bowl season for you. At least you're back.
Yep.
8-4. Give me an 8-4 Auburn Tigers team next year. I think it's going to happen. Or even more. I had Byron Brown in my way too early top 10 quarterbacks for next year. He was number 10. You got to think about this. It's practically South Florida coming to Auburn. They're all going to be tied together. Camaraderie is there. Offensive system is there. Everything that they had in the past is all together. It's not like they're learning anything new. That's why I like Auburn a lot. Oklahoma. This one's intriguing because I think Oklahoma didn't even necessarily play all that good this year, and they had 10 wins and made the playoff and should have won the first round. Of course, they choked that away. Still have John Mateer returning. Yeah, you're losing some pieces defensively. Yeah, your wide receiver play could be better, and you really need a running back, which they ended up getting this offseason.
Yeah.
I think this one's crazy. 7.5. Is it too crazy?
Over. I think that's too low. They'll at least get 8 wins.
I agree. I think that's also too low. I think
what John Mateer, he was playing like a Heisman trophy winner until he got hurt, and then he just wasn't the same after that, and he still ended up making the playoffs even with him being hurt.
Right.
No, I completely think that's way too low, at least in my opinion. I think they at least get 8 wins, 100%.
One more SEC team that really caught my eye. One that means a little bit. Can't English right now. It's 1:15 in the
Yeah,
morning.
I was gonna say it's 1 in the morning. I'm tired.
One that means a lot to you with your family ties. Texas A&M. Over under win total 8.5.
Oh, over. I really like the job that Mike Elko is doing down there. Marcel Reed's coming back to quarterback that offense again. You know, they had all those wins and made the playoffs at 11-1. Um, no, I fully believe Texas A&M will be good again next year, and I believe they'll at least get like 9 wins. With Marcel Reed, he was just a baller, man. And even in that playoff game, he didn't really have that greatest game. Neither team, neither offense had a good game that game. But I do expect Texas A&M and Mike Elko to be back, and maybe I'll make a trip down to Kyle Field next year for him because they want me to get to a game with them.
There you go. There you go. Got to get down to Kyle Field. You got to see
They want
what
me
is
to go
it that
down
the
for the
dudes?
Texas game.
What do they call? I forget the name of it off the top of my head right now. This is bad. But they don't have cheerleaders at Texas
Oh,
A&M.
they have the guys who sing the Warheim.
Yes.
Um,
I forget what they're called off the top of my head. But that'll be a culture shock, that's for sure. I
because
want to go to College Station.
there's midnight yell by the military students
Yep.
and the cheerleaders or cheer. Yeah, it's like the guys, the
Yes.
hype guys. I don't know whatever they're called. Yeah, because they've sent me like videos from when they've gone to midnight yell, at Kyle Field about that.
Yeah. Well, I just hate to break it to you, but I'm going under here. And I'm going under here, at least right now. This is just my thought process. I'm going under with A&M because their schedule for next season is a little bit more brutal than they had this past season. It's a little bit more brutal. And now that they actually have to face off against more elite SEC teams in conference play, I have a little bit more pause for concern that maybe if they play those tougher opponents, might have a little bit more losses in the loss column.
Yeah,
So I'm going under right now. But that doesn't mean it won't be over by the time the season
that's fair.
starts.
Yeah,
I
I
just don't
think
trust A&M necessarily to be 11-1 good next season either.
no, I don't think they'll be 11-1. I mean, they play at LSU, at Alabama, at Oklahoma. They play Texas at home. They play Tennessee at home. Um, they play Kentucky at home. I think Kentucky will be better than they were last year, with Will Stein there now. Um, I just feel like Mike Elko has turned that program around, and that they're bringing back their quarterback. And anytime you bring back your quarterback, I just feel like you're going to be fine. You can find the players around, but if you have your quarterback and your system in place, I really feel like that's important. And with A&M, I mean, they have a young roster too, so it's going to be interesting. But for my family's sake, I gotta go over because they'll be upset with me if I tell them that A&M's going to suck this year.
That's fair. Sorry, I caught myself in a yawn. Um, Texas A&M.
One of the best fight songs too. It's literally making fun of Texas. Their whole fight
Fight.
song, the
Yes.
Wartime, is literally making fun of Texas. That's
That
awesome.
I also think maybe Colin Klein might be a bigger loss than people think.
Yeah,
Offensive coordinator going to Kansas State, be the head coach there, where he was an absolute baller at quarterback. When you're talking about quarterbacks returning, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, Avery Johnson is on like year 9 in Kansas State now, and everyone thought last year they were going to be so good, and then they went to Ireland, and we saw what happened after that.
yikes.
I
Yeah,
think when we look at the Big 12 as well, I didn't pull up their win total. I don't have that on the list. I would have to guess it's probably 7.5, 6.5 range.
Yeah.
I think Kansas State is one of those sneaky teams in the Big 12 to watch for next year. I have one more I did want to talk about if you're pulling up Kansas State's wins totals. Um, I'm going back to the Big 10. And
Indiana, right?
nope, not going to
Oh,
Indiana. Indiana, fun fact, since you're on the topic, it is 10.5. That's their win total.
lower. I'm gonna go lower. I'll go 10-2.
I like that. I think that's pretty realistic for them too. Depends on what happens in Bloomington against the Buckeyes.
Got to see if Josh. Got to see if the Furry's a good quarterback. So,
We already know he is a good quarterback, by the way.
well,
That's been pretty proven, I thought.
the Big
I thought
12
that
is
was
not the
I
Big
thought that
10.
was common knowledge that Josh Hoover is one of the better quarterbacks in college football.
In
And
the
the
Big
world's going
12,
to see
yeah,
why.
where there's no defense, yeah, but where there's
Big
actual
12's no
defense,
defense. What are you
Big
talking about,
10,
man? The Big 12 prides itself on how good their defenses are.
yeah,
If you
totally,
can't
yeah,
tell the sarcasm in my voice.
yeah. That's why Oregon scored like 60 some points on Oklahoma State.
They also played the worst Big 12 team.
Yeah, fair, yeah,
If
and
they
that's
would have
why
played
Oregon
Texas, I
also scored
guarantee. Have we not watched
shutout.
Texas Tech?
Texas Tech.
Did we not watch the rumbling Red Raiders of Lubbock, Texas, do what they've done?
BYU giving up 34 points twice. To, I mean, no, I got to see it with Josh Hoover in the Big Ten.
The team I did
Indiana
want to talk about.
also has a much tougher Big Ten schedule this year. They play Ohio State, they play Michigan, they play much better teams.
They also
So
beat Oregon and Eugene last year.
no, and that was their big win,
They
and
beat
they
Penn State and
completely
State
deserved it.
College, regardless of how good that Penn State team ended
Oh,
up panning
stop!
out.
No, Penn State was bad.
Like I said,
No.
regardless of how that team panned out,
They barely beat them. But then again, I can't say
they went undefeated and won a title.
undefeated and won the national title game. So what am I going to say? They don't care.
You're gonna say you don't believe in Kurt Signetti. That's what.
No, that's not it at all. I completely believe. I think Kurt Signetti is the best coach in college football. I just don't believe in this quarterback next year in the Big Ten. I'm not trusting a furry to mount my offense.
He's not the. Josh Hoover's that guy, okay? Josh Hoover is a top 10
he's that
quarterback
guy
in
with
the
a
country.
tail. I don't need him on my football teams.
All right. We'll get to the last team in the Big Ten. It's a rival of Indiana's, maybe not the team that you're thinking of. Unironically, though, they have the same win total as the one you're probably thinking of. Michigan State and Purdue are tied at dead last, but I'm specifically talking about Michigan State. Their over-under win total. I get Michigan State has been great. They've been pretty bad, actually. But you have Pat
They've been
Fitzgerald.
ass
You have
for a long time.
Miljovic. However you say his last name, Alessio Miljovic.
Alessio Miljovic.
Miljovic. You got it on lock. The one name you actually got on lock over there. Miljovic. It's 3.5.
The only reason I know that is because I took over the Spartans in NCAA.
And that's the one name they would say, but
It
not
was
your own personal
Miljovic's
last name.
senior year when I took over because I was the head coach at Central Michigan. I took him to the playoffs twice. And then Miljovic was my guy. But let's see. Michigan State schedule versus Toledo. I don't think Toledo's a pushover, but I think Michigan State will win that game. Eastern Michigan, they'll beat Eastern Michigan. Notre Dame, no chance. Nebraska, I'll go with no. Illinois,
Probably not.
probably not. Northwestern, yeah, they'll have a shot in that game. At UCLA, no. I think Chesney is going to be a really good coach at UCLA.
Yes.
At Michigan, there's there's not enough prayers in this world for Michigan State to go to Michigan Stadium and win.
You never know. I mean, they did own Paul Bunyan for quite a while.
Yeah, but like that
It's
was
been a hot
during
second,
the
though.
Harbaugh years, and then they
That was also
had
when
and
Mark
obviously-
D'Antonio was still their coach.
Yeah, and Mel Tucker.
Ooh.
Talk
Talk about a flash in the pan. Just like a flash in. Never
versus Oregon, nope. Versus Washington, no. And under. I'll say 3-9 for Michigan State. I'll say they beat Toledo, Eastern Michigan, and either Northwestern or at Rutgers. Maybe they get both of those though.
Over for
You know
Michigan
what?
State.
I will say over for all my fellow, for
In
all the
fact-
Spartans in East Lansing. I'll say you go a resounding 4-8 next year.
In fact, I'm going to be
Again.
even bolder. No Colorado. I think Michigan State will be bowl eligible next season. My first bold take of the college football season. Stamp it home. Michigan State will be bowl eligible. They will go 6-6.
Who the hell are they beating?
I think Michigan State's going to be better than people think. Yeah, they lost Nick Marsh.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
want you to run through these teams and tell me who you think they're beating. Toledo, Eastern Michigan, yes.
They're beating both of
That's-
them.
Yeah. Tickets start at $67 for those games, by the way. At Notre Dame
No.
versus Nebraska.
Yes. I will give them Nebraska.
I don't think so. At Wisconsin.
No, I would not.
I will say, though, this is such a big year for Luke Fickell that if Wisconsin doesn't get this right off the bat, like if they start out like 1-3, I could see Michigan State winning that game.
They could.
I don't think your
also
take is crazy, and now that I think about it, but it's the fact that like versus Illinois, I don't think so. I think Bielema will have
I
them,
think
even though
Bielema
they
will
don't
be
have
fine.
all-
With
I
Wisconsin,
don't
though,
think
it's weird because I think Wisconsin, you're right, they could start off slow, but I'm a big fan of their quarterback they got in Colton Joseph from Old Dominion, and I think that Wisconsin's going to go back to running the football a little bit more. He's a
What they used
run-first
to win.
quarterback almost, and he's still a very good thrower, but he was an 1,000-yard rusher at Old Dominion last
Wisconsin
season.
needs their run game back.
Yes.
When Wisconsin was good, they had a really good running back.
And I think that it's pretty possible next season Wisconsin's a little bit better than what people think. They're giving Fickell another crack at it. I think they're maybe going back a little bit more to what we've been used to at Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Northwestern, they'll have a shot in that game, and that'll be kind of a revenge game for Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah, I don't.
That's 4. That's 4.
At UCLA, I think they have no shot, but that's my opinion. I think Bob Chesney's going to do great things at that program.
I think there's a shot. Is UCLA really going to take those strides in year 1 with Bob Chesney is the real question. I'm not going to give it to him, though.
At Michigan, no.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, there ain't no way in hell. Versus Washington, in my opinion, they don't have a chance in hell.
If that's at home,
it is. It's at East Lansing.
I'm going to give them the win right now.
That's a Friday night game if I've ever heard of one.
That is a Friday night exclusively.
It is on
Peacock.
Saturday. All right, how about that? That just seemed like a Friday night Big Ten game to me.
We're going to give them the win against Washington. And here's why I'm going to give them the win against Washington right now is because of the Damon Williams situation. Is Washington going to fall on their face because of everything that transpired this offseason? Or will they still just be as good as we think they can be and maybe take a step even farther? Who knows? I am cautiously optimistic for Michigan State that Washington might not be as good as some people would think. So therefore, Michigan State wins. That's 5.
Versus Oregon.
No.
And then their last game of the season's at Rutgers.
6-6. 6-6.
You convinced me I'll take the over. I can't get to 6-6 yet. But, we're so early that we have no idea, so many different things need to happen. And, but they don't, they avoid Indiana and Ohio State at least. But, they play at Notre Dame. They play at Michigan. They play Oregon.
It's a tough schedule nonetheless, but the first bowl.
And I will say this, and I don't care if it's Homer, I don't care if it sounds. Every time Toledo plays these lower level Power 4 schools, they play them tough, and they don't win them, but they play them tough.
Well, they do win them. They do win them sometimes.
Yeah,
win
but I mean,
sometimes.
Mississippi State was essentially a MAC team.
That was also like I will say this: Jeff Lebby, year one, post Mike Leach passing away, rebuild. Like
they had a rough year
they had a
all
rough
around.
year. It wasn't going to be that good anyway for Mississippi
And
State.
Toledo, I mean, they should have beat Notre Dame a couple years ago when they had DeQuan Finn. They should have, they had a chance against Kentucky last year. I mean, they played them tough. So Toledo's not going to be. Eastern Michigan will be a pushover, but Toledo won't.
It's fair.
Sorry, I don't believe in Noah Kim and the Eagles.
You're telling me Noah Kim?
Noah Kim, who got an NIL package from Eastern Michigan.
You're telling me Noah Kim and whoever San Jose State's quarterback will be next season will not be the greatest Week 1 game you've ever seen? Because Walker Eagle's no longer there. He's now at Duke.
It'll be like a 56-52 final. Get absolute cinema.
It could be cinema. We'll have to see. That's going to wrap up this episode here of the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 26. A long one. It's late. We're tired. And since we're putting in this hard work, you should subscribe to the channel, of course.
Yes, please.
Hit the push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Make sure you watch out for even more shorts content we're going to continue to put out daily for you guys. It's been a lot of fun. I think it's the way, the short form.
I 100% agree.
The short form's the way, the truth. You guys should also follow us on our social media pages at Ball N Beatz Media, at TikTok, Instagram, our X. Make sure you guys listen to us or watch us wherever you get your podcast. For Spencer, I'm Logan. We'll see you next week.
I need a Bruce Thornton legacy game today. And I know this episode will come out after the game. Please, just give me one win in March, and then I will be set. We can get curb stomped by Duke, and I can have Cam calling me names. He won't do that, but I can have, Cameron Boozer can put 35 on Christoph Tilley, and Devin Royal can just cease to exist. Just win me one game. That's all I ask. It's been 5 years. Actually, it's been longer than that. It's been like since 2019 they've won an NCAA tournament game. Last time they made it, they lost to Oral Roberts, and Max Asmus still gives me nightmares. just win, please. All right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Fair point. But as we're talking, go watch the short where we've gotten the script for March Madness, so we already know how that ends. But until next week, we'll see you guys again. Take care.
Peace.
And peace out.